Today we are going to field strip or disassemble, clean, lubricate, and reassemble the Sig Sauer Mosquito 22 long rifle pistol. Okay, first thing we need to do is remove the slide from the firearm. So first, verify there is no round in the chamber and no magazine in the gun. Close the slide, then take this takedown lever here and rotate this all the way around 180 degrees. Might be a little tough to do till it points to the front like so. And then take the slide all the way to the rear and lift up, and then gently let it come off the front of the gun. And your recoil spring and guide rod are kind of going to fall out. And the barrel is an integral part of the frame. So that is as far as you need to take this gun apart to clean it. Alright, the items you're going to need for cleaning the Mosquito 22 caliber pistol. Always want to wear eye protection. Always want to wear nitrile gloves when you're cleaning a gun. You're going to need some kind of a gun brush. This is actually a dog toothbrush. I love this brush. It's lasted me many years. It's got a large brush head and a small brush head, which is perfect for guns. You'll need some kind of a rod, which is long enough to fit through the barrel of the gun, and the appropriate size loop for the caliber you're working on. This is a 22 loop, and this is a copper brush for a 22, which is very important. You're going to need some rags. I just use cut up t-shirts. You'll need patches to fit in the loop. These patches are sized for a 22 caliber barrel, so they're fairly small. If your patches are too big, you're going to have a hard time pushing them through the barrel. I use these on my favorite cotton swabs. They are double-ended, perfect for cleaning guns. They have a regular end and a pointy end, which is perfect for fitting in slide cuts and a lot of the tight spaces in your gun. You'll need a solvent. I use Hops number 9. Been using that for years. I like to put it in a pump dispenser, which is optional. You don't really need this, but it keeps the solvent from getting contaminated down here because you just pump up what you need in this little tray. Then you dip your swab or your patch into the tray. Then you'll need some kind of a lubricant. I like to use original gun oil. Just been using this for many years. I'll put links down in the description, but any gun oil will do. Something like this with a nice small applicator is really nice. There's a lot of gun oils out there. I also like to have some pipe cleaners on hand. These are great for getting into really tight spaces. Alright, that's about all you need. Alright, this gun is fairly dirty. I'm going to start by cleaning the frame, which is this entire piece here, and the barrel. So first, we want to give this just a general wipe down as best we can, just with a cotton cloth to get off the majority of the sediment. Alright, we're not looking to get everything right now. We're just gonna kind of get a preliminary wipe down. Alright, next we're gonna clean the inside of the barrel. Pretty dirty down in there. A lot of unburned carbon and other debris. First thing we want to do to clean the inside of the barrel is, it's a little messy. I'm gonna get some paper towels right here. We want to get a good amount of solvent down inside the barrel just to kind of coat it and start loosening up that dirt. So to do that, we're going to get our rod. We're going to put a loop on the end of the rod. We want to get a loop that's made for a 22 caliber, and then put one of your patches through the loop like that, and then we're just going to coat that patch with solvent, and holding it over the paper towel, we're going to push it in carefully. We don't want to scratch the bore. Just push that patch in nice and slow, and the goal here is just to get a bunch of solvent inside the barrel, and then just pull it back through nice and gentle. Alright, now we have the inside of the barrel soaking with solvent. We're just going to let that sit for a few minutes. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes. Now's a good time to get your gloves on to protect your fingers from the solvent. The barrel has been soaking in Hops solvent for a little while, so now we're going to get a brass brush and we're going to dip the brush in a little bit of solvent. Alright, and now we're just going to carefully brush the barrel a couple of times. So push the brush through, back and forth a few times. This is a brand new brush, so it's pretty tight. After a few passes, it'll loosen up. And this is just going to loosen up all the remaining dirt that's in there. Alright, after a few passes, take the brush off, put your loop back on. Now we're just going to start pushing some patches through with solvent on them until they start coming out pretty clean. Alright, so get a little more solvent on there. And just a lot of extra dirt that we just loosened up. And then just keep putting in solvent soaked patches until they come out fairly clean. Just be careful when you put them through so you don't damage the inside of the barrel. And once the patches start coming out fairly clean, we're just going to start pushing dry patches through until we get those pretty clean to get all the last bit of solvent and dirt out of there. All right, that's pretty good. That patch is pretty clean and dry. All right, now you can kind of see how clean that barrel is. All right, now that the barrel is clean, we're pretty much done with the inside of the barrel. Now to clean the rest of this frame, take some cotton swab. These are my favorite cotton swabs. I have a pointy end and a regular end. The pointy end is perfect for getting in a lot of the tight spaces inside a gun. And what we want to do is just use our solvent, and we just go in with the cotton swab and just manually clean everything, and just kind of clean everywhere that you see any crud build up. And you're probably going to go through a lot of cotton swabs this way. That's okay. This is a very good way to clean the gun. All right, and then I'm just going to continue with the cotton swabs to get into all the little nooks and crannies, into all the little areas, and just clean it up as good as I can. Especially when I get underneath this rail in the back here. This is part of what allows the slide to go back and forth. So make sure that rail and underneath of it are nice and clean. Make sure you get in all the little slots here on the outside. Wipe down the outside as best you can. Everything nice and clean. Make sure the trigger's clean. All right, I think I got this pretty clean. Did my best to get in all the nooks and crannies, and it looks like it's going to be pretty good. If your grip or anything is dirty, you can just wipe that down. You can put a little bit of CLP on the grip if you want to clean that up. If it needs it, that's not going to hurt it. That's it for the grip and the barrel. So now let's go to the slide. Now the slide is going to be pretty dirty as well. So we're going to wipe this down, and then we're going to hit it with some solvent. And with the slide, you want to be careful not to get solvent on the sights. That sight paint will probably come off. So make sure you don't get any solvent on the sights. So use it sparingly. The CLP shouldn't bother the sights, but you don't want to clean them directly. You can just wipe them off with mild soap and water or something like that if your sights are dirty. But we want to get down inside here. We don't want to get oil into the firing pin hole there, which is right in the middle of that breech face there. All right, so we don't want to get any oil into that slot or oil around the end of the firing pin, which sticks out right here. So just use a little bit of solvent there with a cotton swab. All right, so I'm just going to use some solvent here, clean this up. And this is pretty dirty, so we're going to let's get a fair amount of solvent in there to start working on loosening up that dirt. We want to get solvent in these slide cuts here. This is one of the areas where the slide rides along the frame. You want that to be nice and clean. All right, so just get solvent kind of everywhere in there that you want clean. Some buildup down in there we're going to get out. All right. I should be wearing gloves for this, but working with the camera is a little easier to operate the camera without the gloves on. So do as I say, not as I do. All right, once you get a bunch of solvent in there, this one may take a couple of wipings because it is pretty dirty. So we're just going to get in here with the rag, try and get as much of that solvent and dirt out as we can. And again, use the bristles of the brush to push the cloth down into the little tight spaces there and any of the slots along the way. You can use the small end of the brush to get the breech face, which is this surface here where the firing pin comes out. Really get the brushes down deep in some of these holes here. Clean back here by the firing pin. Try and get all of that off of there. These pointy cotton swabs do a really good job getting into these slide cuts here. So that's why I like these double-ended cotton swabs. And then just keep on wiping and cleaning. Don't forget where the barrel comes through right here. That gets pretty dirty. And then the recoil spring guide rod opening right here. All right, and then just keep on cleaning the slide like this until you get it nice and clean. All right, as I'm working down in here, there's a couple of places that are real important to get clean. This little hook right here is the extractor. That's what grabs the brass and pulls it out of the gun after every shot. So you want to make sure there's no crud underneath that hook. Also in the breech face here, you want to make sure this is as clean as you can possibly get it. There's also some crud right in here. And I find that pipe cleaners are really good at getting in the very tightest spaces in some of these guns. So I have pipe cleaners handy. I use Otis pipe cleaners. I'll put a link in the description. You can get under most extractors with a pipe cleaner. All right, we got this slide pretty clean. So what we're going to do now is on the outside of the slide, this one's pretty clean, but we're just going to get 1 drop of original gun oil on a rag to wipe down the outside of the slide. if it needs wiping down, and that'll just kind of get things looking good, as well as add some protection against corrosion. Just a little bit, and then kind of wipe it off, leaving the very tiniest bit of residue on there. All right, this slide is looking pretty good. All right, I'd say we are done cleaning the slide. All right, and last but not least, we have the guide rod and the recoil spring. So basically, just wipe these down. They're probably not going to be very dirty. If they are, you can get some solvent on there. Just kind of wipe down the spring. I like to put just a dry cotton swab or two through here. As you can see, there's some dirt in there. And then those two are done. All right, now that the gun is clean, now we're going to lubricate. So the instruction manual calls for lubrication in a few places. What it says to do is put a little gun oil on a brush, and it says to brush the external surface of the barrel. So we want the barrel to have a little coating of oil on there, not too much. If it's pooling, just kind of dab some of that off. You don't want much. That's going to help move the slide back and forth, as well as prevent corrosion. Next, it says to wipe off the frame, slide, recoil spring, and guide rod with a cloth lightly coated with gun oil. Put a couple of drops of gun oil on there. Wipe down the frame so it gets a little coating of oil on it. Kind of all the metal surfaces, you want to get a little bit of oil on there. All right, that's about good like that. And then we're going to move on to the guide rod. Just wipe it with a little bit of oil. Same for the spring. Just kind of run the spring through there. And then the frame, we're going to do the same thing. A couple drops of oil on a cloth. And we're going to wipe down the inside. You get all these moving pieces just with a light coating of oil. And I would just put a kind of a fresh drop in these slide cuts back here. That's where the slide moves back and forth on the frame. And just get a little oil in there. And that is it. Now we are ready to reassemble the firearm. All right, now we are ready to reassemble the firearm. Take the frame and hold it like this. Set your guide rod right down into that opening down there. If your spring has a larger end and a little bit of a smaller end, the larger end would go down into the pistol like that, with a smaller end sticking out. To put the slide back on, kind of guide the spring into the slot in the front there. To make sure the spring doesn't get bent, and make sure that guide rod goes straight ahead. Gently move the slide on, lining up the barrel with the hole in the front. So it comes through like that. And hold the slide close to the frame, but not quite down on it, and goes back as far as it goes. And then lay it flat down, and then push down a little, and allow the slide to come forward. And now that it's forward, we want to rotate this lever 180 degrees back like that. And now the gun is reassembled. Move the slide back and forth to make sure it feels right. Make sure you have no ammunition in the firearm. Take a verified empty magazine, because the gun will not fire without a magazine. Put the magazine into the gun, point it in a safe direction, and press the trigger to make sure that the gun indeed fires. Rack the slide, press the trigger again. All right, you are good to go. The next thing you're going to want to do is the functional check, and I'll put a video up here in the corner. The functional check will just take you through a few tests to make sure everything is working properly. And the last thing you might want to do, I see some smudges of oil on here, so just take a cloth rag, wipe everything down, and your gun is going to look beautiful. Get any extra oil and fingerprints off of there. All right, and now your gun looks beautiful. If you found this video helpful, please hit like below. Please check out the description for all the items that we used in the video today. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching.